Welcome, welcome, welcome to this live broadcast. I'm so excited to be here with one of our amazing speakers of the Thrive Through Food Summit, Miss Ama Opare. Ama, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yep, and today we are talking about a very necessary topic, bloating and gas on plant foods. We know folks are dealing with it, so we're going to get in here and dive into this topic, and hopefully you'll get some assistance today, what to do, how to deal, because obviously if we want to encourage folks to eat more plants and they're struggling with this, then they're not going to stay with it. They're not going to be consistent. So first, I want to encourage you all, if you have not registered for the Thrive Through Food Summit, we are coming close to the start of it. We are 9 days away. We start 10 a.m. Eastern Time, October 30th, but in order for you to even see the summit, you have to register. You have to go to thrivethroughfoodsummit.com and register. You'll get an email with the links to each day's videos, and each day the videos are available to watch for free for 48 hours. We also have some bonus live sessions, live Q&A sessions with some of the speakers for those who purchase the All Access Pass. But this is a free summit, so definitely dive in. If you are curious about how nutrition can play a role in mental health, this is the summit for you. And it's definitely needed. I was inspired to create this summit because of a conversation I had with a local nonprofit leader who's doing addiction recovery. And folks in the community just didn't understand why he was interested in bringing in nutrition programming. And they're like, you know, why? This is off topic, but it's very much on topic, right? Nutrition, literally, the brain is managing everything that we do, and the health of our brain manifests into having healthy relationships, having healthy thought patterns, and also addiction, depression, anxiety, how we're dealing with trauma and grief, resiliency. Resiliency is literally tied to brain tissue. And so if we are not feeding our brain, which is consuming 20 to 30% of the calories that we're consuming, then what are we doing, right? We're only setting ourselves up for mental dysfunction, mental unwellness. And so definitely dive into this summit and get something out of it. Ama is going to be on the summit sharing some brilliant insights. Ama is a holistic wellness guide helping Black women map out their personal path to physical, spiritual, and mental wellness that fits who you are, so you can step into your true, whole, and healthy, powerful, and beautiful self and bring your special magic to the world. We are meant to be whole, healthy, and powerful, and Ama is here to help us with that. Ama, thank you again for being with us. I'm going to drop all her links in the chat right now.
Thank you again. And it's an amazing lineup of folks that you have, people I have followed for a long time and, you know, learned from myself. So I think it's great. And yes, it's all so much linked together. Not only do we need to feed our brain health, but, you know, when we're not eating well, then other things go wrong, which makes it even harder to, you know, to do the things that you're meant to do. So it's like the foundation. It's not the only thing you need to do, but the diet is the foundation of creating wellness in all aspects of your life.
Yes, definitely is the foundation. And like we said earlier, you know, in order to do it, like if you're convinced, oh yeah, I need to eat plants, because spoiler alert, one of the major ways to support our brain is eating plants. But if you're eating plants and having digestive upset, it makes it really hard, you know, to continue. It's like really kind of disheartening and discouraging for folks on the journey just getting started. And I know I've had experiences too with food that like were scary. It's like, what do I do, you know? I remember at the beginning of my vegan journey, and I'm like scraping in the archives of my brain trying to remember, it's been 15 years, you know? But I remember the first 6 months having food out, right? It was vegan, and I thought it was healthy, but it was from a restaurant. It was Asian food from a restaurant, and I had to leave work. My stomach, I had never felt pain like this in my life. My intestines felt like they were in knots. And I ran home to my husband, and he gave me this black liquid to drink. And I tell you, I trust my husband with my life, right? I didn't know what it was, but I was just like, I left work. First of all, let me tell you about me. I do not take off, historically. Right now I'm on a different path with the rest deck, but this back then, I worked. You have a cold, you have a flu, whatever, menstrual, whatever, like, no, you work it. You know what I'm saying? You don't leave work, you don't call off from work. That was my whole thing. So the mere fact that I left work was a big deal. Like, I could not even sit upright. I was in so much pain. And my husband gave me this drink, and within 30 minutes, I felt better. And I was looking at him like he was God. I was like, what is this? That was my first time trying activated charcoal. I had no idea what that was. But thank God for this brilliant substance. And I don't know what it was with this place, if it was a specific food or if it was how the food was prepared, you know what I'm saying? But it was plants, Sometimes we have these situations, we got to know what to do. I'm curious about your story. Like, when you first transitioned to eating plant foods, did you start with cooked? Did you start with raw? And how was it for you? Did you have any digestive upsets at all?
I started with cooked, a little bit of raw smoothies and things like that, but most of it was cooked and still fairly processed. And I think one of the things that happens when you first transition is that your gut is not used to eating, high fiber and things like that. And so that's why at the very, very beginning, people may tend to have problems. So I didn't have too much. Don't remember having anything like that happen to me. I have more recently had something like that happen to me just from eating too much. It was junk. It was eating too much junk. And I know with Asian food, particular cooked restaurant food, there's things like, not good quality oil or old oils, as well as whatever MSG or other kind of additives that they add in things. And if it's got a lot of like fake meat type of things in there, those are all things that can impact your bloating and gas symptoms, as well as the fact that if this is a new path for you, that, your body has to adjust. We don't have, you hear a lot about your gut gut biome, and same thing, but gut.
Yeah.
But it takes a while for the gut biome to adjust and healthy bacteria and stuff to grow in there. And so at the beginning, you have the not used to eating that way bacteria inside of you, and so it's a time. There's definitely a transition time that you have to go through.
Yeah, and like we were talking earlier about some of the main triggers, I found out kind of later on, and it wasn't really going vegan that did it for me, but raw, when I ramped up my raw food intake and was doing more I say closer to 100%, I was doing like 6 bananas in the morning, and I felt like it was fine until it wasn't, until it wasn't, because I was like, man, my stomach keeps making all these noises. I wonder why, And that's when I found out about FODMAP foods, which is FODMAP is the acronym for sugars, basically different types of sugars that ferment and, they start to make all sorts of noise, but basically it's the gut bacteria making gas. If you could just walk us through like what exactly is happening and what folks should be looking out for to kind of avoid this situation, or if they're dealing with it, what they should do to alleviate it.
Well, the first thing I say to people, no matter what we're talking about, gas, just whatever, is to do a journal, a wellness journal, and keep track of what you're eating and what's happening, and not just what's happening in your gut, but what's happening in your life. Are you stressed out? The more details you put in here, the more details you'll have to go back and say, okay, this day I had to leave work early because there was all this, and then you can see maybe I didn't sleep good, or I ate this restaurant. You'll have all the details there to begin to figure out what it is, and see how things change over time. And as the same way, I never knew bananas were a problem, and it's only been recently that I've started to have problems with it. And I think one possibility can be that different food digest faster, and fruit tends to digest faster. Bananas, I think, probably a little slower. But if you're eating something that you normally digest fast, but you're eating it on top of beans and rice, and so then it's sitting in there fermenting and causing more gas, then you could possibly have problems. And this is again why the journal is so important, because then you can begin to see the patterns. Whenever I eat bananas and also beans and rice, I have problems. If I eat bananas by itself, or just with some watermelon in a smoothie or something, then it's no problem. Then you'll know for you that's what works. It may not work for other people. But we need to know that gas is normal. I used to try to convince my kids when they were little that I didn't fart. So I don't fart. Maybe you do. Everybody else, I don't. But of course they quickly figured that wasn't true. But it is normal. I've seen people say that, the average person passes gas 20 times a day. I've never counted. I don't know. But, I think we need to know that it's normal. It's part of the normal digestion process. So it's a matter of making it, dealing with the things that tilt you out of balance and into more out of balance types of patterns.
Yeah, and I think it's good for folks to know that it could happen at the start of your journey, but it doesn't mean it will never happen, because right. I know for me personally, like I'm still even engaging with new foods. Like I just tried what is it? Dragon fruit the other day. Right? I never had dragon fruit before, And so it's good to experiment with new foods. And that's why you will always, like now, 15 years later, I keep a journal. I keep a mental health journal. I keep a physical health journal, to track my workouts, my nutrition, and different things. Like, yes, because it's all science, your body is a lab and you're experimenting. Yes. So you want to find what works. And when you were mentioning earlier too, about the bananas, rice, and beans, right? Because that is a really interesting point. Like for folks who are 100% raw and they're eating a very water-rich diet, not even just 100% raw, but like living food. So it's really water-rich, no dehydrated stuff, and probably like 80-10-10 low fat, right? That compared to someone who is high raw, and if the combination is like not just one meal, but over the day, right?
Yes.
When you're talking about like the bananas, rice, and beans, like maybe if you can like elaborate more on that. Is it, because like I've been asked before, like how long do these foods take to digest? Because I think that's part of the issue as well.
Well, it so much depends on the food. Like watermelon, I think kind of goes through you pretty quickly. And it keeps you very well hydrated. And actually, I find if I just eat a bowl of watermelon, it fills me up, and I'm happy for quite a while. And so I know a lot of people say to eat fruits by themselves, either a little while before your meal, or wait till after your food has had a chance to digest, and then eat fruits. I think like soft greens, or lightly cooked greens, or raw lettuces and things like that can also go digest pretty quickly. It's when the like brown rice, the whole grains, those take longer. The beans take longer. The cooked foods take longer. And particularly if you're using oils and things like that, those take longer. And the more complicated combinations, beans, rice, and something else. Then you've got, now your stomach has to figure out, your body has to figure out all these different things and how to digest it. Whereas if you're eating mono meals, like let's say you just eat a bowl of salad with maybe a little light dressing or lemon juice on it, that should go through pretty quickly. Or just eating raw fruits, which is my favorite thing to eat. Most days I start my day with just fruit and may not eat anything else, and especially nothing cooked until midday or later. And midday is actually probably the best time to eat larger meals, because that's when your digestion is at the most active, is the most effective. And it's depending on other things. Are you having a stressed out day? Are you fighting off some other illness? There's so many factors. It's like, that's why I hate to see the nutrition labels and things. Oh, this much, you need this much vitamin C, and you need that, because it really, your body needs different things at different times depending on what's going on with it. And if you're feeding it whole foods, whole living foods, then your body can take what it needs when it needs it without you having to figure out, okay, do I have enough micrograms of this or whatever it is of that. You can let your body do the magic. It knows the math. It knows how to do it. You don't have to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a great point, because this, I heard Chris Gardner, who I believe is like a professor of nutrition over at Harvard or something like that, talk about those nutrition facts, like what is the RD approved, or like the federal guidelines for diet, is based off, it's a statistical number for population, right? Not necessarily for the individual. So to go off of that for us as individuals doesn't really make sense, which is why, like, even with this conversation of gas, because when you start digging into, like, for me personally, when I was like, oh, could I stop all of this noise in my stomach by decreasing the bananas, by trying low FODMAP and kind of figuring out which one of these high FODMAP foods could be causing my issues, right? What it is for me is not going to be it for someone else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The 6 bananas was working for me before, and then all of a sudden I hit 30 and it just wasn't, And who knows what may happen at 40, at 50, at 60. There's always the body's going through changes, especially as a woman. You got hormones and stuff to deal with,
Yes.
So it's like, it's really a individual thing, and kind of looking at those nutritional guidelines to operate and figure out, it may not be the best. I mean, it's a starting point, but you kind of still have to tweak from there.
Point. Yes, because not even that, it's like not even based on the whole facts anyway. One of my favorite books is the book Whole by T. Colin Campbell. And he really shows how, like, if you say, okay, well, apples have vitamin C, that's what's the good thing, so we need to take this vitamin C pill or whatever. And in truth, there are many other chemicals and things in enzymes, amino acids in the apple that also act like vitamin C. And so anytime you're trying to do individual supplement, this pill or whatever, you're actually not really, eat the whole apple, because who knows what else is in that apple that is actually maybe even more important than this, whatever thing they've decided is the vitamin C in it. And so all those numbers are just based on guesses, really. We were given these beautiful whole foods to eat because this is the way it's best delivered for us. And then our body, as I was saying before, can do the calculations and figure out what it needs right now. This part of the apple, that part of the apple, for this, for that. We're fighting a cold. Oh, we've got all this gas from the banana. It can decide what it needs to do. And when we get out of the way, I think we get in our own way many times with trying to be healthy, because we're trying to figure out what's the next magic pill, the next superfood, the next thing, when we have, it's been here with us for millions of years. Just eat the food.
Yeah. We make it complicated, right? We love to make things
Yes.
complicated. So, what are some of the most common food triggers that you've seen people go through?
Right. Well, of course, the beans, people know about that. And for that, you can soak them and then pour the soaking water off. Sprouted beans sometimes are better. Use things like kombu, or I think Indian, they use something called hing or something. There are things you can add to the beans. But yeah, beans, uh, garlic sometimes, onions, broccoli, cabbages, the cruciferous vegetables, highly processed things, like I said before, low quality oils, and even the high fiber foods at first, because the high fiber foods and the beans and things, the actual place that in this your gut where it's digested is in the colon, in the lower part of the intestine. So if it's staying in your upper digestive system too long, then it's having a chance to ferment there, and that's what causes the gas. Is the gases that are coming off of the fermentation process, the digestion process. So you want to allow it to go through. So yeah, so the beans, the garlic, onions, broccoli, cabbage, fake meats, highly processed things, the low quality oils, those are the main things.
So
And then whatever it is for you.
yeah, for you, because I know you were also on the Raw Food Health Empowerment Summit, and we had a speaker on there, Matt, talk about colonics and enemas, right? Um, and I know some folks at the beginning of their journey, even like raw foodies, they get into this to clean out the colon because it helps them
Mm-hmm.
transition, or it helps them, get into it. I would love to hear your thoughts. My personal thing, because I have even not like raw foodies, but like people eating the standard American diet who have become really impacted, like colonics help them, and so I'm not necessarily against it. There are
Mm-hmm.
folks who are in serious need, but then the other side of me is like, well, if you're eating clean, I personally don't think water should go up the anus, because if God wanted that to be so, you wouldn't have issues. When it gets moist, you're more susceptible to
Right.
like infection and things like this. So anyway, so so I'm just curious about your like experience and ideas on this. Like for someone who
Mm-hmm.
is having issues, like what would you recommend? Should they do colonics and enemas? Should they just go raw? Should they juice? Should they do salad? Like what do you think?
I mean, I think there's a place for those, for enemas and colonics. Certainly, if you're in a bad situation, you're having chronic problems, yes, that can help as a short term, maybe emergency type thing. But as a ongoing, regular thing, it's, as you said, it's not. And I like I said before, I'm much more into doing things the natural way. Um, I find I used to have a lot of trouble with constipation as a kid and as a young adult, and in my middle ages. And it wasn't until I went vegan that I stopped having a problem. And I know when I am eating raw, particularly when I'm eating a lot of fruit, I go much more regularly. And so, if you're having trouble using the bathroom, then there's something you're not doing correct. And so the issue is not to go and do an enema or a colonic, other than, like I said, short term, just to kind of get things moving, just to get the blockage out of the way. But then is to figure out why it is you're having that blockage. What are you eating? What are you doing? Are you moving? After you eat, go take a walk. Don't do like some really hard exercise, because then that takes the energy away from the digestion. But go and take a walk. Are you drinking enough water or getting enough hydration? Watermelon is a great way to both get fiber and the water all together. That for me makes me go. If I eat a bunch of watermelon, I'm pretty much guaranteed to need to go to the bathroom before too much longer. Are you eating too fast? Are you eating too much? So what are the reasons why you are having this problem in the first place? Gradually increase the fire. If you're going from eating, processed Captain Crunch cereal and all that kind of junk, and then you're going to go directly to eating brown rice and black eyed pea, all like a really high fiber diet. Yes, you might have some problems temporarily. So you maybe gradually make the change from less processed, from more processed to less processed. And yeah, if you're overeating, don't eat smaller meals more often. And then again, the journal, keep track, observe what's happening, see what happens. Okay, I see if I do this, I feel better, but if I do that, then to make adjustments until you find the actual recipe for success. That's your own personal recipe for success. Don't eat 6 bananas in a day.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you'll figure it out for yourself if you pay attention. So many of us, I think, are kind of we've been taught to not really listen to ourselves, to not trust ourselves, our own bodies, our own thoughts, our own intuition, and to trust the experts out there who are supposed to know more than us about it. And you are really the best expert on you if you listen, if you pay attention, if you really observe and begin to try different things until you find the right combination of foods, movement, drink, meditation, whatever the things are that actually work to help you live a whole and healthy life.
So would you, because you mentioned watermelon, and for me it's grapes. I love grapes.
Grapes
I
is
love
another
grapes.
good one.
Yes, and they really are like, I would call them like really strong astringents. I feel like they just clean out the colon, and I even feel the effects on my teeth too, because my teeth are really sensitive, and I feel like they just clean my teeth so much. I'm curious if you think that doing like some kind of cleanse or detox would help, because you had mentioned something about eating less fiber, but it's like if folks are eating less fiber and going plant-based and eliminating foods that are unhealthy, how do they fill the gap, to stay full?
I think it's a gradual thing, and it's not a long term. I would say when I talk about fiber, I'm really talking about the more denser fibers, the whole grains and things like that, legumes and things like that. Where if you are to eat, the best detox, I think, is really to do the fruit feast, the fruit fat. Just eat as much fruit as you possibly can. And I've done as much as 30 days of eating nothing but fruit, fresh, sweet, watery fruits, not like the vegetable fruits, but watermelons, citrus fruits, strawberries, berries, grapes, peach, whatever is sweet and juicy. And that is a really good way to give your body super, super nutrition. It'll help you quickly heal from whatever the things that are going on in your system, whether it be high blood pressure, high blood sugar, things like that. So if you're going to do that, you need to make sure and monitor your numbers, monitor your symptoms, and work with someone who's supportive of what you're doing. Because if you keep taking your medication doing that, you'll quickly over medicate yourself, which is not good. But you will also find that your digestive system quickly regulates as well. Sometimes at the beginning of doing something like that, you might need to do enemas a couple of times just to really, like I said, if there's something hard in there that you need to just get it out, that's fine. And then once you do that, you may find that things flow more easily. Another juice fast is another thing. I've done a lot of juice fasts in my past. I'm finding that the fruit feast, though, is much easier to do. You can continue to eat and sort of retrain your eating process. Like it was much easier for me to continue eating mostly fruit after I went off the feast than when I went to do a juice fast. Then once I I'm off the juice, then I'm back to eating whatever, whatever. Whereas the fruit fast, you're able to continue eating in the same way to a certain degree. Um, so yes, and it's a good transition. So if you're going from the standard American diet, doing something like a 15-30 day all fruit feast first, and then when you start eating the other things, gradually adding in the beans, the rice, and things like that, then your body is already cleaned out, is already detoxed from a lot of the problems that were there in the past. And the fruit itself is so nutrition packed. It's got all the, people wonder about healthy fats or protein and all like that. And you're really going to get everything you need from the fruit. There are people who have been eating nothing but fruit for years and are bodybuilders. So you're not going to starve to death if you're eating enough to feel full. If you're eating, you're going to be fine. So doing that, getting your system cleaned out, then moving into the however it is you're trying to eat afterwards is a good way to transition.
Do you remember your first fruit fast?
I do. It was
How,
amazing.
yeah, so how long was it?
That one I did 30 days also, although there were a couple of days in midst of the 30 days where I did eat at a restaurant with because of we had events here. I live in Tanzania. It was a diasporan group meeting, and we were eating at Ethiopian restaurant, and I must admit I couldn't resist. But I still did, mostly for the most part, 30 days. I lost a lot of weight really quickly, but not in an unhealthy way. I mean, it was like at a certain point, my body just stopped losing. It was like, okay, this is your good weight now. I felt amazing. I had fabulous energy. You get that fruit glow on your face, and people were worried about me, but they said I looked great. And I said, but it's just in the brain. We're so indoctrinated into what we need to have all this stuff that people were concerned about whether I was getting what I needed to. But I felt fabulous. And every time I've done it since, I feel really, really, really good. I have a lot of energy. Maybe the first couple of days I'm tired, but then from then on, I can do everything I need to do and want to do. Still exercise, still go to yoga, still walk, all the stuff. So.
I see. How do you vary like the fruits? Because I know, like with me personally, after sweet fruit in the morning, like I cannot handle any more sweet. So how exactly do you manage to plan out the fruits throughout the day?
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't have that problem. I have a sweet tooth, so I'm happy to eat all the sweet fruit I can. But, there are some times where I might just eat one thing all day. I try to do like mono meals there, like just eat one fruit at a time. So maybe in the morning I might have just papaya in the morning, and then at lunchtime have a bunch of watermelon, or then later on have a package of strawberries or things like. I really don't overthink it. I just make sure my refrigerator, my kitchen is full of all the fresh fruit I could possibly want, and then when I feel hungry, I just go get something. And occasionally I will mix things up. I might put in a bowl like strawberries and papaya, and then try to eat most of the papaya first and then head for the strawberries. But again, I don't try to overthink it. So I've heard other people say that too, that the sweet gets to be too much for them. And I don't have that problem, so I don't know what to say about that. But it may be something that over time you would just adjust to it more, or yeah. But the problem is if you're adding other things, the sweet watery fruit is like the most quickly to detox, and so it's slow. When you add something else in, then it kind of slows down that detox process. So if you can avoid it, do so. If not, you're still eating raw. If you were eating some lettuce, maybe some greens or something, some salad or something, just plain lettuce, not with any dressing or anything on it, that probably would not be a terrible thing to do. It wouldn't, not probably, it wouldn't be a terrible thing to do.
That makes sense. And also like cucumbers, I guess cucumbers technically are a fruit, right? Because they have seeds.
Technically, yes, but for this feast. Fruit feast is sweet, watery fruit. So not cucumbers, not peppers, not tomatoes, not, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would think though, if you're gonna do that, fusing in like some cucumbers, because that I would think that would maybe break the sweet, clean the palate a little bit, to just, switch it up and to not
Yes.
overthink. But
Yeah.
even when you say don't overthink it, what comes to mind, that I've been asked, and it's a totally valid question, are cravings, right? For me, I'm more into salt, right? And fruits don't really have salt. So like, how you have a sweet tooth. So do cravings ever, like, do you ever deal with that? Like, the first time you did your fruit feast, was cravings for anything an issue?
No, not for the fruit feast. I mean, I deal with cravings on, normally, but and it's hard to know. People sometimes think that cravings means their body needs a certain thing, and I don't know that that's necessarily true. I'm not saying it's not true, but particularly in this day and age where we're bombarded 24/7 with media images of things, and we've got stressful lives, and we've got emotional issues we're dealing with, is it is what part of us is really craving? Is it that we need some nutrient, or is it that we're feeling the lack of something sweet in our lives, or we just need to pamper ourselves? There's so many other factors that we have to take into account. So no, like I said, the fruit feast for me was perfect. It satisfies. I love fruit, and so I didn't have any worries about that or any problems with that. And this is, again, I've said journal many times, but again, to write all this stuff down. I'm craving this, and just really begin to look at what else is happening in your day, in your life right now. Are you stressed out? Did you just have a fight with your spouse, or somebody at work scolds you? What else is happening? And connect the dots between the other things that are going on in your life and what's going on with you, for you, and being able to stick to the diet and lifestyle goals that you've set for yourself. When I'm working with my clients, that's one of the things I say: nothing is off the table. It's all interlinked. Because if your life is going crazy in this one area, it's going to be very hard for you to stick to the things that you want to do. So focusing on those things and figuring out how to soothe those, to ease those things, how to make those things work better, is going to help you out in your diet and lifestyle. So it's all together. We're not, just like with the nutrients, we're not, or the diet, we're not like different components. Our healthy lifestyle is not different components: exercise, food, sleep, blah blah blah. Yes, we need all of those things, but they are all tied together.
Because, like, what really drives cravings typically is stress. Sometimes it's just mindless eating, eating for entertainment, eating because we're bored, eating because we're anxious, whatever.
Yes.
But if you're doing a fruit feast, or like in the past, I used to do a coconut water fast every Sunday, which was like my special day. And it was intentional why I picked Sunday. At the time, I had the store, and Sunday was pretty peaceful. Every other day, the store owned me, basically.
Right,
So
right.
Sunday, I didn't have to worry about anything. And especially when you're trying to if you have a history of overworking yourself, like myself,
Me too.
when you do these fasts, you're forced to kind of slow down, because you're only really
Yes.
focused on, like you were saying, pampering yourself, and so that means keeping stress levels really down, so you don't mess up whatever fast that you're trying to do. And for me, coconut water fasts were like perfect, because I loved coconut water, and that's what I hear you saying, and everything you've been mentioning is like, I like this, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem sustaining it, because I actually enjoy it. And so you have to find what works for you if you're gonna do a fast or a feast. And coconut water was it for me, because I love it. And For
Yes.
me, coconut water was filling. So I didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
hungry after drinking it. I felt full. I felt the sweetness. I felt satisfied. And anytime I felt like my mouth was too sweet, I would just drink actual water, just like plain water.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
There you go.
but yeah, like you, if you're not eating, what else are you doing, right? You got to
Right.
find
Right.
other things to do to keep your mind busy and off food. And if you're in a stressful environment, like working, it may be difficult. So, like, like when it comes to stress, what are your go-to like tactics for yourself to keep your stress levels down, especially when you're doing something like a fruit feast
Mm-hmm.
or fast or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that?
Yeah, I'm also guilty of overworking. I do every couple of hours make myself get up and go outside, take a walk. I don't spend a lot of time watching news and things like that. I know what's going on in the world, but I'm not watching the latest video of something horrible happening. I honestly, the biggest thing I did was to move that heck out of the US. And I'm here in Tanzania where it's peaceful and calm. And the fruits are amazingly delicious. Like they taste different. But also, I start my morning with self nurturing. I will read some kind of inspiring book. I will read. Right now, I'm reading a book called Ancient Futures, which is about the original like um, hermetic principles of like so above down below, things like that, things like that are nurture me spiritually. I will do that. I always go outside and I just do laps in my beautiful garden, and I will walk 4 or 5 thousand steps just in my garden, before 9 o'clock. um, I also go outside and pour libations, say prayers to my ancestors, those types of things. I do meditate, not every single day, but actually, when I'm walking, I often just sort of think gratitude thoughts, loving thoughts. And so I try not to actually sit down at my computer and do work until 10:30, so that first few hours of my day is about self-nurture, is about self mentally, spiritually, physically, really nurturing myself, and nurturing relationships with people who I know understand, who are on the same general path as me, and who I can talk through some of these things, and who can who empower me, who I think so. Relationships are really important. What else do I do? Yeah, I think that's the main thing, and I try to clock out at a reasonable hour. It's kind of difficult because I'm here and a lot of my clients are in the States, so which is another reason why I try to push my start time later, because my end time goes later, because like for me right now it's 6:15 so p.m. So when it's prime time for you, it's kind of my body's would naturally be
Winding
kind of
down,
slowing
yeah.
down. So finding a rhythm that that works. So, but yeah,
That's perfect.
those
And
are
I
the main
love that
things
you
I do.
mentioned walking because walking helps digestion. When you walk, the intestines are getting massaged. So whatever was lodged up
Yes.
there just kind of works its way down,
Mm-hmm.
you know? JD said,
Yes.
much appreciated. Any thoughts on the number of meals to eat daily? So I'm not sure if this is in regards to fruit feasting or when you said earlier eating smaller portions and just more meals. Maybe answer for
Mm-hmm.
both.
I for the fruit feasting is eat as much as you want, whatever time. All of that goes through pretty quickly. In general, as I said earlier, eating your larger meals midday is better. I like to stop eating at well here it gets dark at 6:30 p.m. all year round. We're right near the equator, so usually by the time it gets dark, I like to be done eating. Um, um, So if you're eating smaller meals, once again, I'm not one to tell you, oh, this is what you need to be doing. I think it's you figuring out what works for you, what makes you feel the best. So, I tend to eat fruit in the morning. I'll eat a bigger lunch-ish meal like around 1 p.m. And then I'll eat a smaller meal around 6 or 6:30ish. And when my cravings kick in, I may eat something popcorn or something in the early evening, but I try to avoid that as much as I can. It helps if I don't buy it, then I can't eat it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I have my health coach brain buy all my stuff and make my shopping list and beeline out of there, because I'm telling you, these grocery stores be
yeah.
like, temptation.
Yes, for sure. No, yeah, by design. And so I would say do an experiment. Try a week of eating 3 meals a day, and then try a week of eating, 4 smaller meals a day, or, see what works. See if that makes a difference in your gas level, in your energy level, your mental focus level, your craving, whatever. Uh, I mean, all of these things, do experiments and see what makes you feel the best. And that's really what I do with clients, is helping them take a look at, okay, here's where we are, here's where I'm trying to go to. Okay, let's try this week. How did that work? Or what do you think you want to try next? And just really, because there's no tried and true, this is the thing to do. We're all different. We live in different environments. We have different bodies. Our body composition is different. So you have to really figure this out for yourself. I wish I could just tell you, do A, B, C, and D, and you'll be fine. Unfortunately, that's what gets people into trouble, because they're trying to do A, B, C, and D that worked for this person over here, but you're not that person. So you have to figure out your own A, B, C, and D.
Yes, yes. And I'll share too, like in terms of like herbs and teas, turmeric, ginger, peppermint. These,
Yes.
historically, my family has always used this for digestive upset. I think ancestrally it's just been passed on from generation to
Yes.
generation as like the basic
Yes.
every home must have. But I honestly think that every home should have activated charcoal, as your first aid kit. Alongside neem. Neem has nothing to do with digestion, but if you ever feel like you're getting any viral infection or something, I mean, neem is just it. And also
Lemongrass. We have a lot here.
lemongrass. Yes, yes. We have here, Aries says, I'm transitioning into eating just fruits and vegetables. I stopped eating meat 4 months ago. Congratulations. Congrats. Yes,
Wonderful.
and I know, sometimes that's the thing too, is that folks are coming in from different diets into eating like 100% plants. And so it can
Yes.
be not only different diets, but there's certain things that disrupt our gut microbiome and actually hurt our gut, like medication, chronic illness from before,
Totally, yes.
Obviously meat, dairy consumption, lots of processed foods, toxic chemicals, that we put on our bodies, in our bodies for, whatever things people are smoking, doing all sorts of stuff. All of these things can disrupt the gut. And so when you're going 100% plants and you're having problems, sometimes it's the food. Sometimes there's a food, it's a trigger food. Sometimes, it's the sugar, the FODMAPs, right? But sometimes it's just the gut is damaged and is in the process of repair. And so like it's a painful
Yes.
process of repair for some folks,
Yes. Yeah.
So you just want to be
And I
kind and
think
gentle.
when you're detoxing and when you're detoxing, a lot of the things, I know people will say, "Oh, I had to stop because I started getting too much mucus." Well, that's your body. Okay, your body's saying, "Oh, thank goodness, here's our chance to get this stuff out," and so it's coming out in mucus. Maybe you have some diarrhea, you got some skin It's like that's your body's way of getting rid of the stuff. So when you're transitioning you may have symptoms that are uncomfortable, and that's just your can often be what you call a healing crisis. It's part of the healing process. Your body ridding itself of the things that have been stuck inside there for however long.
That's why it's good, like, always be in communication with your doctor, because as health coaches, we are part of a wellness team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why this summit, we have doctors on here, and not just doctors, but folks with lived experience and doctors with lived experience,
Yes.
because the lived
Yes.
experience matters a lot. It's not just folks talking about,
Yes.
oh, I read it was good to eat fruits and vegetables, and now I'm telling you, like, people who've been through it, they've done the thing,
Yes.
and so you get
And
both the
not
clinical
all
and
doctors.
yeah.
Yeah. Not many doctors don't have the nutrition background. They don't know anything about plant-based. So it's very important to choose a doctor that actually knows and supports what you're doing.
Yes.
Because it, many doctors, what they get in medical school in terms of nutrition education is very, very small, if anything. So I don't know how many people I've heard tell me, "Oh, my doctor told me I need to go keto for my diabetes," or "I have this, I need to be keto." Now, if your doctor's telling you that, that's telling you your doctor doesn't know about plant-based, the real truth about plant-based diet. Then you need to find a different doctor.
Yeah. Seriously. Seriously. People are getting messed up.
Yes.
If I'm a plantition provider, Plantition Project has a database of plant-based doctors. And also, too, from my perspective, it's really good to work with a doctor that you're not in a combative relationship with. If you
Yeah.
feel you want to not be on medications for long for whatever issue, and you want to use plants for healing, working with a doctor who's on that same like mindset is just a healthier relationship. It just makes
Much,
things a
much,
lot
yes.
easier. So plantitionproject.org, they have a database. Also PCRM, Physicians Committee, they have
Yes,
a
they're
database.
wonderful.
Yeah, so that's a really,
Yeah.
really great point. Yeah, anything else that we want to share? Anyone else have questions? Thank y'all for joining us live and asking these questions. This is your time to get your questions answered, so you can make forward movement on the journey. We don't want anything to hold you back from living your best, healthiest life, because it's amazing. All these plant foods are fun, enjoyable. And yeah, it could be a little tricky. I know, like, even with beans, folks get discouraged. They can't have beans. And I'm like, some people trying to get off beans, they're trying to be 100% raw. So if anything, pain usually is the biggest motivator. I know for me, pain is a motivator. You mentioned popcorn. Of course, I used to love Skinny popcorn. Like, honestly, like the brand, like they was like, ooh, olive oil, look at you, And I was like, this is healthy, But then it tore up my stomach. That's how I got off popcorn. That's how I got off, like, physical pain in my stomach. So sometimes
Yep.
when we're having pain, it's a blessing to just point us in a proper direction, because I have no business eating processed food. You know what I'm saying? It's not helping me. And my stomach was saying, girl, come on, do better. And so we've
Yes.
been good because of that pain. Pain serves a purpose, I find. Physical and emotional. Like, I always talk about the story of my grandma, and even when I tell the story, it's painful, But this is what keeps me, because when I talk about how I went vegan and I gained 20 pounds and hit 140, which is the edge for my height according to the medical system, right? So take that with a huge grain of salt. I knew I had to stop there and do something, because I don't want to end up the way she ended up. I don't want to have to go through all the work and all the pain. So I catch myself, and this is where it's like pain really serves a purpose to help us on our journeys.
Yes, for sure. And I would
JD
say,
says,
don't
thank you,
stop.
ladies. Thank you,
Don't
JD.
stop.
Yes,
Yeah,
what were we
even if
saying?
you do this for a while and you fall off the wagon, get back on and go forth it again. You know, it is a journey. You mentioned the journey. It's a journey. And a journey that we never stop. Event over time, you may decide no more beans. You may decide to go this way. You know, it's a journey, and just keep trying, keep getting back up and taking the next step.
Yeah, because the mere fact that you're on this live watching this, you're already doing good stuff for your body. I'm fully aware and confident in that. And so eating clean and making sure that you're eliminating as much toxins in your environment as possible, because all of that stuff is affecting your gut microbiome as well. And mitigating stress, as we talked about here today, is really going to help you on that journey. So thank you so much. And if you want more of conversations like this, like we talked about juicing, we talked about fruit fasting, all of this is mentioned in detail by other speakers on the summit who have used this to get mental clarity, alleviate anxiety, and pull themselves out of depression. So if you are interested in this, definitely register for the Thrive Through Food Summit. Share it with your friends and family. Watch it together. Talk about it at the dinner table, at the breakfast table. Share it with folks in the community, at church, everywhere. Because I think we need to be talking about how critical nutrition is to our mental health and well-being. Folks are out here struggling, and it makes sense that we would be struggling because the brain doesn't have all the supports that it needs. It needs the physical support, which we get from nutrition, the spiritual, the social, the psychological. But this nutrition piece is huge, right? Ama, where can folks find you?
Well, I am on my website is foodforthesoul.me, M-E. I am foodforthesoul.opare on Instagram and Food for the Soul Global on Facebook. So just remember Food for the Soul on all the places. And and on YouTube Food for the Soul Global also.
Which is also the name of her delicious, delicious recipe book that I can't stop talking about. Home base. This book is home base for anybody trying to get into raw foods for the first time. And it's more of like a high raw book, but it's very, very raw. Like most of the recipes are raw. I think you only have 2 or 3 recipes that have cooked elements.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of cooked. Yeah. And there's hundreds of recipes on my blog. Some are, a lot are raw, but not all of them.
Nice. So y'all can play around, dabble into the raw food lifestyle, but definitely immerse yourself into plants. Plants. So thank y'all for joining us live today, and have a blessed weekend.